Hello. I never really do know how to start these ASMR streams. I don't really, you know. It's alright though. Oh shit, fucking hell. What's that sound? Diabolic with a 13-month. Oh my goodness gracious. That's crazy. That's crazy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good lord. That's nuts. What a lad. Currently on a 13-month streak. How crazy is that? That's support, innit? Hope that's not unlucky 13. Yeah, true. Same. I hope that is true as well. How long has she been streaming? An hour. How's your bummy wummy, Diabolic? How you doing? Hey, it's Matt. What's up? How you doing? I don't know. Did you manage to see the end of The Witcher yesterday? Or maybe today? I was up to, what was it, almost 3 a.m. my time yesterday, watching The Witcher. I finished it this morning when I woke up. Um, it was fun. It was good. I'm like a little on the fence about it because it did just feel like a setup, but I loved it still. Start with a sore throat, but it's looking like a negative. Oh, it's a regular old cold. Oh, nice, nice. Yesterday, very good, very good. What'd you think? What was your opinion? Opinionage, as they say. It's good to hear that you're well, Diabolic. I mean, not well. Well, but you're not COVID bad. You're lacking the C word. Mm-hmm. I figured it's actually I had no idea The Witcher was gonna like the second season was gonna come out when it did 2 days ago. It was kind of, if I hadn't been like sick these past few weeks, it would have been perfect timing, you know, with all these Witcher narrations and all that jazz. It's kind of neat how that works. I liked it surprised at the end. Yeah, I'd say so too. I'd say so too. No spoilers, but yeah. Of a W word, Lelp. When I see that in the chat, I'm just like, L W. That's W. Hey, what's up, Mr. Race? Fantastic. I really enjoyed The Witcher though. In general, I love the. I loved everything, but the sort of setup. It didn't feel. Oh, the toilet. Hmm? W and C. Nice. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that was a nice dad joke. Amazing. How am I doing today? Doing pretty good, I'd say. Doing pretty good. went to the gym for the first time in a week, which is terrible. Because I had to really convince myself to go. Typically, I'm very like adamant and staying consistent with going to the gym, but like having been sick for such a long time, it's yeah. Am I ready for Christmas? I guess. I'm not going to celebrate Christmas. Well, yeah, no, actually, no. I won't celebrate Christmas. I'll be alone this Christmas. What about you, Mr. Wright? Are you ready? I got some presents today. To yesterday. Yes, it's Sunday today. I got this beautiful plant that's covered by my microphone, which is kind of cool, and also covered by me partially. Um, it's beautiful. I could show you if you want. You know. Hope. I hope I won't let this one die. You know. What the? Wait. Is it supposed to be like that? Yes, it is. It's the root. Fantastic. I forget what it's called. It's not amaryllis, but it's a nice plant. Cactus. Sure. I got 3 of those right here. I don't know if you can see them. The tiny one right there, and there, and there. One of them's covered. There it is. Now you can see them. They're mini, tiny cactuses. They got eyes on them as well. It is really called that? Really? Wow. I guess that would make sense. There are apparently quite what you call it. They drink a lot of water. So yeah. How can I go live just like you? You press the live button on OBS. That's pretty much it. What do you mean go live like me? You mean go live on several places at the same time? If so, you use Restream. You go into OBS, then you connect your Restream account, and there you have it. It's pretty fantastic. Also, now I've learned. Thank you, Diabolic. I didn't know this. I can't remember where we last stopped. 4 weeks ago now, I'm pretty sure it was. Of The Witcher. But I think it might have been. Oh yeah, it was the end of Renfrey. Right. The voice of reason for. I'm in contradictory mode. They don't need that much water. They can go a few weeks without. Really? A few weeks? That's awesome. So, I guess, since you seem knowledgeable, how many times would you say that you should water it? A week, I guess. Like 3 times a week, or... Dude, it's been so long. I feel like it's been forever since I streamed. And then on top of that, forever since I read. So, this might be a learning process again. Probably read for about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or so, if I can manage. Gonna put this on charge for now. Can make it a little cozier, I think. By turning this off. I don't know if that helps. Just slightly. When it gets dry. Oh, that's fair. But check, there is no water collected in the bottom. Also, the leaves will not feel full if you squeeze them. Ah, they'll feel not full. Okay, they don't feel full, that's for sure. They feel, in fact, quite lacking. So, mayhaps I should water, feed the plant with water that I have right here. Hey, good morning, evening, good morning, what? Summeroo. Just spill a load of water though. That'll last it. Sometime, hopefully. How you doing, Tom? Good to see you. I'm terrible with knowing how many times, or like, when I should water a plant. I don't know why I'm like Irish today. I don't understand it. I feel like it's been forever since I did the thing of talking English. So hey, what's up, Trail? How you doing? How are you doing? I watched so much stuff. You should water when it's thirsty. But the thing is, plants don't talk, so I can't ask it and say, "Hello, plant. What is your water level? How thirsty are you from a scale of 1 to 10?" Right about which fat was best. Sounds good, Tom. Can you hear the ambience behind? In the background, I mean? Behind. Cool. Can I do that? Fantastic. So I'm gonna do this real quick. Let's see, not that one. This one. Take a finger and put it in the soil. It should be moist, but not soaking. If it's dry, you should water it. But how will I know if I don't fist this one? See, my finger doesn't go that far. Guess I'll just have to fiddle around. This is moist, but not soaking. So far, pretty good, I'd say. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. Let's see. Challenges. Oh, that's completed. Sure. Cool. Should have a dish under the pot so excess water could drain into it. That's not... It's not that type of pot, I'm afraid. So that's... It's not that type of pot, I'm afraid. That's kind of awkward. Yeah, it's a big boy. Welcome back, Tom. I'm alright. I went to the gym for the first time in a while, so that was nice. It took me some time to get there. Approximately like 2 hours before I could convince myself that, like, you know, that's fucking gonna do it. It's another pot inside the ceramic. Sort of. Not really. No, it's not a pot per se. It's like the dirt is in this plastic thing, and then that is in the pot. Did you buy that paper book? This one? What do you mean? The paper book? Can you smell my fart, please? I don't know if I can. From your local library. Oh, no, I bought it. I bought it like at least 2 years ago. Yeah, getting back into it is fantastic. It's a struggle, dude. I've been feeling real depressed lately, and I think it's because I haven't been to the gym. You know, get that mental sort of thing, the activity. You know, been being forced to be inside for such a long time, not moving at all, and then going to a workplace where everything's fucking boring as hell. Fun stuff. Losing inspiration and motivation. Why don't you use ebooks, you Amazonian rainforest murderer? Because I like the physical thing, putting it on a library, as so, or on a shelf, I mean, a bookshelf, and I don't know, ebooks hurt my eyes. That's all. Yeah, it is quite dark. Well, it's winter, so winter depression on top of that. And I don't think it's because of that, though. Because of the lack of sun. But you know, I got a text message. Yeah, I've been pretty down myself recently. That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm here if you need me. Once you get to the gym, can you get straight back into the... No. No. It takes a lot of convincing. At least it has. After being sick, you know, it has taken a lot of considerable effort in maintaining any level of, you know, a positive mental attitude. PMA. All that jazz. But once I have the routine in, you know, it gets a lot better. You know, working out for, I say you know a lot, you know. Having a routine of working out at least 3 times a week is very beneficial. It is the least amount of, you know, this is the recommended, you know, amount of times. You know, you get to keep, yeah, stuff. And also being alone, you know, being by yourself is very terrible. Having no one to, you know, be around with that cares for you, it's, yeah, it can get to you. Loneliness is the biggest killer, you could say. Why don't you install that Tinder? Why do you think Tinder has this, like, magical effect that's gonna be like, oh, you know, I've Tinder fucking sucks donkey dick, okay? And also, Swedish people are really fucking boring. So, even if I were to try and strike a conversation, it wouldn't last more than, I don't know, 5 minutes. Anyway, we're reading The Witcher, The Last Wish tonight. And, yeah. Didn't ever work for me? Yeah, it's a hit or miss. Dispensation, fantastic. If you guys feel like you want to keep chatting, feel free. You know, talk amongst yourself until I reach a paragraph. I can talk to you guys. Make whatever you want from it. Yeah, I mean, well, I've tried, I've failed, and I've given up. Anyway, the voice of reason for The Last Wish. Let's talk, Iola. I need this conversation. They say silence is golden. Maybe it is, although I'm not sure it's worth that much. It has its price, certainly. You have to pay for it. It's easier for you. Yes, it is. Don't deny it. Your silence through choice. You've made it a sacrifice to your goddess. I don't believe in Melitele. I don't believe in the existence of other gods either. But I respect your choice, your sacrifice, your belief. Because your faith and sacrifice, the price you're paying for, your silence, will make you a greater being. Or at least, it could. But my faithlessness can do nothing. It's powerless. You ask what I believe in. In that case, I believe in the sword. As you can see, I carry two. Every Witcher does. It's said, spitefully, the silver one is for monsters, and the iron for humans. But that's wrong. As there are monsters which can be struck down with only a silver blade, so there are those for whom iron is lethal. And, Iola, not just any iron. It must come from a meteorite. What is a meteorite, you ask? It's a falling star. You must have seen them. Short, luminous streaks in the night. You've probably made a wish on one. Perhaps it was one more reason for you to believe in the gods. For me, a meteorite is nothing more than a bit of metal, primed by the sun and its fall. Metal that makes swords. Yes, of course you can take my sword. Feel how light it... No! Don't touch the edge. You'll cut yourself. It's sharper than a razor. It has to be. I train in every spare moment. I don't dare lose my skill. I've come here, this furthest corner of the temple garden, to limber up, to rid my muscles of that hideous, loathsome numbness which has come over me, this coldness flowing through me. And you found me here. Funny, for a few days I was trying to find you. I need to talk, Iola. Let's sit down for a moment. You don't know me at all, do you? I'm called Geralt. Geralt of... No, only Geralt. Geralt of Nowhere. I'm a Witcher. My home is Kaer Morhen, Witcher's settlement. It was a fortress. Not much remains of it. I love it. It's a super chat. I've heard conflicting things about Andrzej Sapkowski. Kaer Morhen. That's where the likes of me were produced. I'm not done anywhere. No one lives in Kaer Morhen now. No one but Vesemir. Who's Vesemir? My father. Why are you so surprised? What's so strange about it? Everyone's got a father, and mine is Vesemir. And so what if he's not my real father? I didn't know him, or my mother. I don't even know if they're still alive, and I don't much care. Yes, Kaer Morhen. I underwent the usual mutation there, through the trial of grasses, and then hormones, herbs, viral infections, and then through them all again, and again, to the bitter end. Apparently, I took the changes unusually well. I was only ill briefly. I was considered to be an exceptionally resilient brat, and was chosen for more complicated experiments as a result. They were worse. Much worse. But as you see, I survived. The only one to live out of all those chosen for further trials. My hair's been white ever since. Total loss of pigmentation. A side effect, as they say. A trifle. I can't help but just love this so much. Hey, thank you, Griefcase. What timing? Then they taught me various things until the day when I left Kaer Morhen and took to the road. I'd earned my medallion, the sign of the Wolf School. I had 2 swords, silver and iron, and my conviction, enthusiasm, incentive, and faith. Faith that I was needed in a world of monsters and beasts to protect the innocent. As I left Kaer Morhen, I dreamed of meeting my first monster. I couldn't wait to stand eye to eye with him, and the moment arrived. My first monster, Iola, was bald and had exceptionally rotten teeth. I came across him on the highway where, with some fellow monsters, deserters, he'd stopped a peasant's cart and pulled out a little girl, maybe 13 years old. His companions held her father while the bald man tore off her dress, yelling it was time for her to meet a real man. Excuse me. I rode up and said the time had come for him too. I thought it was very witty. The bald monster released the girl and threw himself at me with an axe. He was slow, but tough. I hit him twice, not clean cuts, but spectacular, and only then did he fall. His gang ran away when they saw what a Witcher's sword could do to a man. Am I boring you, Iola? I need this. I really do need it. Where was I? My first noble deed. You see, they told me again and again in Kaer Morhen not to get involved in such incidents, not to play at being knight-errant or uphold the law, not to show off, but to work for money. And I joined this fight like an idiot, not 50 miles from the mountains. And do you know why? I wanted the girl, sobbing with gratitude, to kiss her savior on the hands and her father to thank me on his knees. In reality, her father fled with his attackers, and the girl, drenched in the bald man's blood, threw up, became hysterical, and fainted in fear when I approached her. Since then, I've only ever rarely interfered with such matters. I did my job. I quickly learned how. I'd ride up to villagers, village enclosures, or town pickets and wait. If they spat, cursed, and threw stones, I rode away. If someone came out to give me a commission, I'd carry it out. Hey, thanks, Troy. I visited towns and fortresses. I looked for proclamations nailed to posts at the crossroads. I looked for the words Witcher urgently needed. And then there'd be a sacred rite, a dungeon, necropolis, or ruins, forest ravine or grotto hidden in the mountains, full of bones and stinking carcasses. Some creature which lived to kill, not of hunger, for pleasure, or invoked by some sick will. A manticore, wyvern, vogler, Aechna, Iliocaris, chimera, leshy, vampire, ghoul, graveear, werewolf, giant scorpion, strega, black anise, kikimora, viper. So many I've killed. There'd be a dance in the dark, and a slash of the sword, and fear and distaste in the eyes of my employer afterwards. Mistakes? Of course I've made them, but I keep to my principles. No, not the code. Although I have, at times, hidden behind a code. People like that. Those who follow a code are often respected and held in high esteem. But no one's ever compiled a Witcher's code. I invented mine. Just like that. And keep to it. Always. Not always. There have been situations which seemed there wasn't any room for doubt. When I should say to myself, what do I care? It's nothing to do with me, I'm a Witcher. When I should listen to the voice of reason. To listen to my instinct, even if it's fear. If not to what my experience dictates. I should have listened to the voice of reason that time. I didn't. I thought I was choosing the lesser evil. I chose the lesser evil. Lesser evil. I'm Geralt, Witcher. I'm the Butcher of Blaviken. Don't touch me. You might see. And I don't want you to. I don't want to know. I know my fate whirls about me like water in a wire. It's hard on my heels, following my tracks, but I never look back. A loop? Yes, that's what Neneki sensed. What tempted me, I wonder, in Cintra? How could I have taken such a risk so foolishly? No. I never look back. I'll never return to Cintra. I'll avoid it like the plague. I'll never go back there. If my calculations are correct, that child would have been born in May. Sometime around the feast of Beltane. If that's true, it's an interesting coincidence, because Yennefer was also born on Beltane's. Enough of this. We should go. It's already dusk. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you, Iola. No, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. Quite fine. Cool. Nice. Oh, change camera position. Do you want me to? Sure. Won't make a difference, really. Fantastic. Actually, no, I'll do this one. If it'll reach. Never mind, it won't. Excuse my sniffles. A question of prize. 1. The Witcher had a knife to his throat. He was wallowing in a wooden tub, brimful of soapsuds, his head thrown back against its slippery rim. The bitter taste of soap lingered in his mouth as the knife, blunt as a doorknob, scraped his Adam's apple painfully, and moved toward his chin with a grating sound. The barber, with the expression of an artist who is conscious that he is creating a masterpiece, scraped once more for form's sake, then wiped the Witcher's face with a piece of linen soaked in tincture of angelica. Geralt stood up, allowed a servant to pour a bucket of water over him, shook himself, and climbed from the tub, leaving wet footmarks on the brick floor. Your towel, sir? The servant glanced curiously at his medallions. Thanks. Clothes, said Haxa. Shirt, underpants, trousers and tunic, and boots. You've thought of everything, but can't I go in my own shoes? No. Beer? With pleasure. He dressed slowly. The touch of someone else's coarse, unpleasant clothes against his swollen skin spoiled his relaxed mood. Castellan? Yes, Geralt. You don't know what this is all about, do you? Why they need me here? It's not my business, said Haxo, squinting at the servants. My job is to get you dressed. Dressed up, you mean? Get you dressed and take you to the banquet, or the Queen. Put on the tunic, sir, and hold the medallion beneath it. My dagger was here. It isn't anymore. It's in a safe place, like your swords and your possessions. Nobody carries arms where you're going. The Witcher shrugged, pulling on the tight purple tunic. And what's this? He asked, indicating the embroidery on the front of his outfit. Oh, yes, said Haxo. I almost forgot. During the banquet, you will be the Honourable Ravix of Forhorn. As guest of honour, you will sit at the Queen's right hand. Such is her wish, Manat. On the tunic is your coat of arms. A bare, passant sable, damsel vested azure, riding him, her hair loose and arms raised. You should remember it. One of the guests might have a thing about heraldry. It often happens. Do I have a custom probability distribution for my gambling? No. Safe to say no. Of course I'll remember it, said Geralt seriously. And Forhorn, where's that? Fair enough. Ready? Can we go? We can. Just tell me, Haxo, what's this banquet in need of? Princess Pavetta is turning 15, and, as is the custom, contenders for her hand have turned up in the dozens. Queen Calanth wants her to marry someone from Skellige. An alliance with the islanders would mean a lot to us. Why them? Those they're allied with aren't attacked as often as others. A good reason. And not the sole one. In Cintra, women can't rule. King Rogner died some time ago, and the Queen doesn't want another husband. Our Lady Calanth is wise and just, but a king is a king. Whoever marries the princess will sit on the throne, and we want a tough, decent fellow. Enough to be found on the islands. They're a hard nation. Let's go. Geralt stopped halfway down the gallery surrounding the small inner courtyard and looked around. Castellan, he said under his breath. We're alone. Quickly, tell me why the Queen needs a Witcher. You of all people must know something. For the same reasons as everyone else. Haxo grunted. Cintra is just like any other country. We've got werewolves and basilisks, and a manticore could be found too, if you looked hard enough. So Witcher might also come in useful. Don't twist my words, Castellan. I'm asking why the Queen needs a Witcher in disguise as a bare passant, with hair loose at that, at the banquet. Haxo also looked around, and even leaned over the gallery balustrade. Something bad's happening, Geralt, he muttered. In the castle. Something's frightening people. What? What usually frightens people? A monster. They say it's small, hunchbacked, bristling like an urchin that creeps around the castle at night, rattles chains, moans and groans in the chambers. Have you seen it? No. Haxo spat. And I don't want to. You're talking nonsense, Castellan. Grimaced the Witcher. It doesn't make sense. We're going to an engagement feast. What am I supposed to do there? Wait for a hunchback to jump out and groan? Without a weapon? Dressed up like a jester? Haxo? Think what you like, grumbled the Castellan. They told me not to tell you anything, but you asked, so I told you. And you tell me I'm talking nonsense. How charming. I'm probably covering my face. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, Castellan. I was simply surprised. Stop being surprised. Haxo turned away, still sulking. Your job isn't to be surprised, and I strongly advise you, Witcher, that if the Queen orders you to strip naked, paint your eyes blue, and hang yourself upside down in the entrance hall like a chandelier, you do it without surprise or hesitation. Otherwise, you might meet with a fair amount of unpleasantness. Have you got that? I've got it. Let's go, Haxo. Whatever happens, that bath's given me an appetite. Hey. What's up, Bamps? I can't see anything but the rouletting from trail. Two. Apart from the curt, ceremonious greetings with which she welcomed him as Lord of Forehorn, Queen Calanthe didn't exchange a single word with Witcher. The banquet was about to begin, and the guests, loudly announced by the herald, were gathering. There was an idea for your OF with a chandelier. Wait, what are you saying? Oh. The table was huge, rectangular, and could seat more than 40 men. Calanthe was at the head of the table on a throne with a high backrest. Geralt on her right, and on her left, a grey-haired bard called Drogodar with a lute. Two more chairs at the head of the table, on the queen's left, remained empty. To Geralt's right, along the table, sat Haxo and a voivode, whose name he'd forgotten. Beyond them were guests from the Duchy of Atra, the sullen and silent knight Rainfarn, and his charge, the chubby 12-year-old Prince Windholm, one of the pretenders to the princess's hand. Further down were the colourful and motley knights from Cintra, and local vassals. "Baron Aelimbit of Tig," announced the herald. "Oh, yeah. Good Kodak," murmured Calanthe, nudging Drogodar. "This'll be fun." Wait, have to... Give me 1 sec. Hello. This is like the one scene from Netflix where the hedgehog comes. Yes. Something surprise. You're gonna spoil the whole thing. What are you doing? A thin and whiskered, richly attired knight bowed low, but his lively, happy eyes and cheerful smirk belied his subservience. "Greetings, Kurt Kadak," said the queen, ceremoniously. Obviously, the Baron was better known by his nickname than by his family name. "We are happy to see you." "And I am happy to be invited," declared Kurt Kadak, and sighed. Well, I'll cast an eye on the princess, if you permit, my queen. It's hard to live alone, ma'am." "Aye, Kurt Kadak," Calanthe smiled faintly, wrapping a lock of hair around her finger. "But you're already married, as we well know." "Ah," the Baron was miffed. Why that? "You know yourself, ma'am, how weak and delicate my wife is, and smallpox is rife in the neighbourhood. I bet my belt and sword against a pair of old slippers that in a year I'll already be out of mourning." Poor man, Kurt Kadak, but lucky too." Calanth's smile grew wider. Lucky your wife isn't stronger. I hear the last harvest, when she caught you in the haystack with a strumpet, she chased you for almost a mile, with a pitchfork, but couldn't catch you. You have to feed her better, cuddle her more, and take care of that her back doesn't get cold during the night. Then in a year, you'll see how much better she is. Cadak pretended to grow doleful. I take your point. But can I stay for the feast? We'd be delighted, Baron. The legation from Skellige, shouted the herald, becoming increasingly hoarse. The islanders, 4 of them, in shiny leather doublets trimmed with seal fur and belted with checkered woolen sashes, strode in with a sprightly, hollow step. They were led by a sinewy warrior with a dark face and aquiline nose, and, at his side, a broad-shouldered youth with a mop of red hair. They all bowed before the queen. It is a great honour, said Calanth, a little flushed, to welcome such an excellent knight as Eist Tuesich of Skellig to my castle again. If it weren't for your well-known disdain for marriage, I'd be delighted to think you're here to court my Pavetta. Has loneliness got the better of you, after all, sir? Often enough, beautiful Calanth, replied the dark-faced islander, raising his glistening eyes to the queen. But my life is too dangerous for me to contemplate a lasting union. If it weren't for that, Pavetta is still a young girl, an unopened bud. But I can see... See what? The apple does not fall from the tree, smiled East Tursich, flashing his white teeth. Suffice it to look at you, my queen, to know how beautiful the princess will be when she reaches the age at which a woman can please a warrior. In the meantime, it is young men who ought to court her, such as our King Bran's nephew here, Krach and Kret, who travelled here for exactly that purpose. Krach, bowing his red head, knelt on one knee before the queen. Who else have you brought, Eist? A thick-set, robust man with a bushy beard, and a strapping fellow with bagpipes on his back, knelt by Krach and Kret. What did I just read? What do you mean? Unopened? This is the gallant druid, Mouse Sack, who, like me, is a good friend and adviser to King Bran. And this is Dreg Bon Du, our famous skald. And 30 seamen from Skellig are waiting in the courtyard, burning with hope to catch a glimpse of the beautiful Calanth of Cintra. Sit down, noble guests. Tuesich, sir, sit here. East took the vacant seat at the narrower end of the table, only separated from the queen by Drogodar and an empty chair. The remaining islanders sat together on the left, between Marshal Visigurd and the 3 sons of Lord Strept, Tinglant, Fodcat, and Wieldhill. That's more or less everyone. The queen leaned over to the marshal. Let's begin, Visigurd. The marshal clapped his hands. The servants, carrying platters and jugs, moved towards the table in a long line, greeted by a joyful murmur from the guests. Calanth barely ate, reluctantly picking at the morsels served her with a silver fork. Drogodar, having bolted his food, kept strumming his lute. The rest of the guests, on the other hand, laid waste to the roast piglets, birds, fish, and mollusks on offer, with a red-haired Krakan Kret in the lead. Rainfawn of Atre reprimanded the young Prince Windholm severely, even slapping his hand when he reached for a jug of cider. Cadak stopped picking bones for a moment and entertained his neighbours by imitating the whistle of a mud turtle. The atmosphere grew merrier by the minute. The first toasts were being raised, and already becoming less and less coherent. Calanth adjusted the narrow golden circlet on her curled ash-grey hair and turned to Geralt, who was busy cracking open a cold one, cracking open a huge red lobster. It's loud enough that we can exchange a few words discreetly. Let us start with courtesies. I am pleased to meet you.
The pleasure is mutual, Your Majesty.
After the courtesies come hard facts. I've got a job for you.
So I gathered. I'm rarely invited to feasts for the pleasure of my company.
You're probably not very interesting company, then. What else have you gathered?
I'll tell you when you've outlined my task, Your Majesty.
Geralt, said Calanthe, her fingers tapping an emerald necklace, the smallest stone of which was the size of a bumblebee. What sort of task do you expect as a witcher? What, digging a well, repairing a hole in the roof, weaving a tapestry of all the positions King Verdank and the beautiful Lucero tried on their wedding night? Surely you know what your profession's about.
Yes, I do. I'll tell you what I've gathered, Your Majesty.
I'm curious.
I gathered that, and that, like many others, you've mistaken my trade for an altogether different profession.
Oh? Calanthe, casually leaning towards the lute-strumming Drogadar, gave the impression of being pensive and absent. Who, Geralt, makes up this ignorant horde with whom you acquaint me? And for what profession do those fools mistake your trade?
Your Majesty, said Geralt calmly, while I was riding to Cintra, I met villagers, merchants, peddlers, dwarves, tinkers, and woodcutters. They told me about a black anise who has its hide out somewhere in these woods, a little house on a chicken claw tripod. They mentioned a chimera nestling in the mountains, Aeshnes and Centipedianamorphs. Apparently a manticore could also be found if you look hard enough. So many tasks a witcher could perform without having to dress up in someone else's feathers and coat of arms.
You didn't answer my question. How do you call a bumblebee in Ikean? Bee. Basically. Stupid woman. I mean, she's a majesty. Gonna behave like that, yeah?
Your Majesty, I don't doubt that a marriage alliance with Skellig is necessary for Cintra. It's possible, too, that the schemers who want to prevent it deserve a lesson. Using means which don't involve you. It's convenient if this lesson were to be given by an unknown lord from Forhorn, who would then disappear from the scene. And now, I'll answer your question. You mistake my trade for that of a hired killer. Those others, of whom there are so many, are rulers. It's not the first time I've been called to a court where the problems demand the quick solutions of a sword. But I've never killed people for money, regardless of whether it's for a good or bad cause. And I never will.
How do you call a robster? A robster? Oh. Rowan, not a robster? A robster's not a thing. The atmosphere at the table was growing more and more lively as the beer diminished. The red-haired Krakan Crate found appreciative listeners to his tale of the battle at Thwith. Having sketched a map on the table with the help of meat bones dipped in sauce, he marked out the strategic plan, shouting loudly. Kudkadak, proving how apt his name was, suddenly cackled like a very real sitting hen, creating general mirth among the guests, and consternation among the servants, who were convinced that a bird, mocking their vigilance, had somehow managed to make its way from the courtyard into the hall. Ormorst Bard. Maybe? I don't know. Thus fate has punished me with too shrewd a witcher. Calanthe smiled, but her eyes were narrowed and angry. A witcher who, without a shadow of respect, or, at the very least, of common courtesy, exposes my intrigues and infamous plans. But hasn't fascination with my beauty and charming personality clouded your judgment? Don't ever do that again, Geralt. Don't speak to those in power like that. Few of them would forget your words, and you know kings, They have all sorts of things at their disposals. Daggers, poisons, dungeons, red-hot pokers. There are hundreds, thousands of ways kings can avenge their wounded pride. And you wouldn't believe how easy it is, Geralt, to wound some ruler's pride. Rarely will any of them take words such as, "No, I won't," and "never," calmly. But that's nothing. Interrupt one of them or make inappropriate comments, and you'll condemn yourself to the wheel. The Queen clasped her narrow white hands together and lightly rested her chin on them. Geralt didn't interrupt, nor did he comment. Cúd-Cúdac, yes. Kings, continued Calanth, divide the people into two categories. Those they order around, and those they buy, because they adhere to the old and banal truth that everyone can be bought. Everyone. It's only a question of price. Don't you agree? I don't need to ask. You're a witcher, after all. You do your job and take the money. As far as you're concerned, the idea of being bought has lost its scornful undertone. The question of your prize, too, is clear, related as it is to the difficulty of the task, and how well you execute it. And your fame, Geralt. Old men at fairs and markets sing of the exploits of the white-haired witcher from Rivia. If even half of it is true, then I wager your services are not cheap. So it would be a waste of money to engage you in such simple, trite matters as palace intrigue or murder. Those can be dealt with by other, cheaper hands. Brak! Gabrak! Roared Cúd-Cúdac suddenly, to loud applause. Geralt didn't know which animal he was imitating, but he didn't want to meet anything like it. He turned his head and caught the Queen's venomously green glance. Drogodar, his lowered head and face concealed by his curtain of grey hair, quietly strummed his lute. "Ah, Geralt," said Calanth, with a gesture forbidding a servant from refilling her goblet. "I speak, and you remain silent. We're at a feast. We all want to enjoy ourselves. Amuse me. I'm starting to miss your pertinent remarks and perceptive comments. I'd also be pleased to hear a compliment or two, homage or assurance of your obedience, in whichever order you choose."
"Oh, well, Your Majesty," said the Witcher, "I'm not a very interesting dinner companion. I'm amazed to be singled out for the honor of occupying this place. Indeed, someone far more appropriate should have been seated here. Anyone you wished. It would have sufficed for you to give them the order, or to buy them. It's only a question of price."
"Hey, Gina. What's up?" "What's up?" Hearts. Smooches. My red version of your pink one. Whoa. Good lord. That's really cool, there, like the plant you sent in Discord. Go on, go on. Calanth tilted her head back and closed her eyes, the semblance of a pleasant smile on her lips.
"So I'm honored and proud to be sitting by Queen Calanth of Cintra, whose beauty is surpassed only by her wisdom. I also regard it as a great honor that the Queen has heard of me, and that, on the basis of what she has heard, does not wish to use me for trivial matters. Last winter, Prince Roberick, not being so gracious, tried to hire me to find a beauty who, sick of his vulgar advances, had fled the ball, losing his slipper. It was difficult to convince him that he needed a huntsman and not a witcher."
The Queen was listening with an enigmatic smile.
Other rulers, too, unequal to you in wisdom, didn't refrain from proposing trivial tasks. It was usually a question of the murder of a stepson, stepfather, stepmother, uncle, aunt. It's hard to mention them all. They were all of the opinion that it was simply a question of price.
The Queen's smile could have meant anything.
And so, I repeat,
Geralt bowed his head a little.
that I can't contain my pride to be sitting next to you, ma'am. And pride means a very great deal to us Witchers. You wouldn't believe how much. A lord once offended a Witcher's pride by proposing a job that wasn't in keeping with either honor or the Witcher's code. What's more, he didn't accept a polite refusal and wished to prevent the Witcher from leaving his castle. Afterwards, everyone agreed this wasn't one of his best ideas.
Cool. How many shots did you get so far? Like, bullet shots? 30? Predicting the lockdown will start on the 27th. Really? Shucks, that sucks. I'm so happy Sweden doesn't have anything like that. It's kind of stupid, but, you know, whatever. Geralt, said Callanth, after a moment's silence, you were wrong. You are a very interesting dinner companion. Kudkadak, shaking beer froth from his whiskers and the front of his jacket, craned his neck and gave the penetrating howl of a she-wolf in heat. The dogs in the courtyard and the entire neighborhood echoed the howl. One of the brothers from Strept dipped his finger in his beer and touched up the thick line around the formation drawn by Croc on Crate.
Error and incompetence, he shouted. They shouldn't have done that. Here, towards the wing. That's where they should have directed the cavalry. Struck the flanks.
Ha! Roared Croc on Crate, whacking the table with a bone and splattering his neighbors' faces and tunics with sauce.
And so weak in the center. A key position. Ludicrous. Only someone who's blind or sick in the head would miss the opportunity to maneuver in a situation like that.
That's it, quite right, shouted Winholm of Atta.
Who's asking you, you little snot?
Snot yourself.
Shut your gob, or I'll wallop you.
Sit on your ass and keep quiet, Crack, called East Twersich, interrupting his conversation with Visigurd. Enough of these arguments. Drogodar, sir, don't waste your talent. Indeed, your beautiful though quiet tunes should be listened to with a greater concentration and gravity. Dreg Bondu, stop scoffing and guzzling. You're not going to impress anyone here like that. Pump up your bagpipes and delight our ears with decent martial music. With your permission, noble Callanthi. Oh, mother of mine, whispered the Queen to Geralt, raising her eyes to the vault for a moment in silent resignation. But she nodded her permission, smiling openly and kindly. Ew. Oh, shit. Drag Bondu, said East. Blast the song of the Battle of Hokabuz. It won't leave us in any doubt as to the tactical maneuvers of commanders, or as to who acquired immortal fame there. To the health of the heroic Callanth of Sintra. The health and glory, the guests roared, emptying their goblets and clay cups. Dreg Bondu's bagpipes gave out an ominous drone and burst into a terrible, drawn-out, modulated wail. The guests took up on the song, beating out a rhythm on the table with whatever came to hand. Kudkadak was staring avidly at the ghost leather sack, captivated by the idea of adopting its dreadful tones in his own repertoire. Hokibus, said Callanthi, they misspelled, typo. Looking at Geralt. My first battle, Although I fear rousing the indignation and contempt of such a proud witcher, I confess that we were fighting for money. Our enemy was burning villages which paid us levies, and we, greedy for our tributes, challenged them on the field. A trivial reason, a trivial battle, a trivial 3,000 corpses pecked to pieces by the crows. And look, instead of being ashamed, I'm proud as a peacock that songs are sung about me, even when sung to such awful music. Again she summoned her parody of a smile, full of happiness and kindness, and answered the toast raised to her by lifting her own empty goblet. Geralt remained silent. Let's go on. Calanth accepted a pheasant's leg offered to her by Drogodar and picked at it gracefully. As I said, you've aroused my interest. I've been told the witches are an interesting caste, but I didn't really believe it. Now I do. When hit, you give a note which shows you're fashioned of pure steel, unlike these men moulded from bird shit. Which doesn't, in any way, change the fact that you're here to execute a task, and you'll do it without being so clever. Geralt didn't smile disrespectfully or nastily, although he very much wanted to. He held his silence. I thought, murmured the Queen, appearing to give her full attention to the pheasant's thigh, that you'd say something, or smile. No? All the better. Can I consider our negotiations concluded?
Unclear tasks, said the Witcher dryly, can't be clearly executed.
What's unclear? You did, after all, guess correctly. I have plans regarding a marriage alliance with Skellig. These plans are threatened, and I need you to eliminate the threat. But here your shrewdness ends. The supposition that I mistake your trade for that of a hired thug has piqued me greatly. Except, Geralt, that I belong to that select group of rulers who know exactly what witches do, and how they ought to be employed. On the other hand, if someone kills as efficiently as you do, even though not for money, he shouldn't be surprised if people credit him with being a professional in that field. Your fame runs ahead of you, Geralt. It's louder than Drake Bondu's accursed bagpipes, and there are equally few pleasant notes in it.
The bagpipe player, although he couldn't hear the Queen's words, finished his concert. The guests rewarded him with an uproarious ovation and dedicated themselves with renewed zeal to the remains of the banquet, recalling battles and making rude jokes about womenfolk. Gurkadak was making a series of loud noises, but there was no way to tell if these were yet another animal imitation or an attempt to relieve his overloaded stomach. East Tersich leaned far across the table. "Your Majesty," he said, "there are good reasons, I am sure, for your dedication to the Lord from Forhorn, but it's high time that we saw Princess Pavetta. What are we waiting for? Surely not for Kraka and Crate to get drunk. And even that moment is almost here."
"You're right as usual, Aist."
Calanth smiled warmly. Geralt was amazed by her arsenal of smiles.
"Indeed, I do have important matters to discuss with the Honourable Ravix. I'll dedicate some time to you two, but you know my principal, duty. You know my principle. Duty, then pleasure. Haxo!"
Why are we talking politics in the chat? What the hell? Stop it. There were better things to talk about than politics. East Tersich leaned far across the table. Never mind. She raised her hand and beckoned for the castellan. Haxa rose without a word, bowed, and quickly ran upstairs, disappearing into the dark gallery. The Queen turned to the Witcher.
"You heard? You've been debating for too long. If Pavetta has stopped preening in front of the looking-glass, she'll be here presently. So prick up your ears, because I won't repeat this. I want to achieve the ends which, to a certain degree, you have guessed. There can be no other solution. As for you, you have a choice. You can be forced to act by my command. I don't wish to dwell on the consequences of disobedience, although obedience will be generously rewarded. Or you can render me a paid service. Note that I didn't say I can buy you, because I've decided not to offend your witch's pride. There's a huge difference, isn't there?
No, I haven't, Gina. No, I haven't played Minecraft in months, at least. The magnitude of this difference has somehow escaped my notice.
Then pay greater attention. The difference, my dear Witcher, is that one who is bought is paid according to the buyer's whim, whereas one who renders a service sets his own price. Is that clear?
To a certain extent. Let's say, then, that I choose to serve. Surely I should know what that entails.
No. Only a command has to be specific and explicit. A paid servant's service is different. I'm interested in the results. Nothing more. How you achieve it is your business.
He seems sense. I mean, I might, at some point. I don't know when, though. I can't make any promise as to when I'll start the Minecraft server. Wait. Should I have some background music / noise? Or just keep it with my voice? What you guys think?
Twissy.
Yes. Cool. The birds are nice. Frying bacon. That's a little, that's gonna be a little grating, if you ask me. I can barely hear this. Please check it. That can't be a thing. Check it. Check it. You can barely hear this, can you? So I'll switch. YouTube ASMR bacon. I think I'll skip on that one. Won't lie. I won't lie. Anyway. A babbling brook. YouTube ASMR deep frying. Pog. Yes, creative input. I mean, you know. Yes, let's go with that. But let's go with that when I'm not narrating, yeah? You can listen to mice shagging some other time, yeah? Geralt, raising his head, met Mousek's penetrating black gaze. The Druid of Skellige, without taking his eyes from the Witcher, was crumbling bread in his hands and dropping it as if lost in thought. Geralt looked down. There on the oak table, crumbs, grains of buckwheat, and fragments of lobster shell were moving like ants. They were forming runes which joined up, for a moment, into a word. A question. Mousek waited without taking his eyes off him. Geralt, almost imperceptibly, nodded.
The druid lowered his eyelids and, with a stony face, swiped the crumbs off the table.
Honourable gentlemen,
Called the herald.
Pavetta of Cintra.
The guests grew silent, turning to the stairs. Preceded by the castellan and a fair-haired page in a scarlet doublet, the princess descended slowly, her head lowered. The colour of her hair was identical to her mother's, ash grey, but she wore it braided into 2 thick plaits which reached below her waist. Pavetta was adorned only with a tiara ornamented with a delicately worked jewel and a belt of tiny golden links which girded her long silvery blue dress at the hips. Escorted by the page, herald, castellan, and Visigurd, the princess occupied the empty chair between Drogodar and East Tersich. The knightly islander immediately filled her goblet and entertained her with conversation. Geralt didn't notice her answer with more than a word. Her eyes were permanently lowered, hidden behind hidden behind her long lashes, even during the noisy toasts raised to her around the table. Hey, Octa. There was no doubt her beauty had impressed the guests. Krakhan Crate stopped shouting and stared at Pavetta in silence, even forgetting his tankard of beer. If there's nobody there to hear mooses shagging, do they still make a noise? Yes, I'd say. Windhall Mavatra was also devouring the princess with his eyes, flushing shades of red as though only a few grains in the hourglass separated them from their wedding night. Kudkadak and the brothers from Strept were studying the girl's petite face, too, with suspicious concentration. Hogs. I'm doing alright. How you doing, Octo? Aha, said Calanth quietly, clearly pleased. And what do you say, Geralt? The girl has taken after her mother. It's even a shame to waste her on that red-haired lout, Krak. The only hope is that the pup might grow into someone with East Tersich's class. It's the same blood, after all. Are you listening, Geralt? Cintra has to form an alliance with Skellig, because the interest of the state but demands it. My daughter has to marry the right person. Those are the results you must ensure me.
I have to ensure that. Isn't your will alone sufficient for it to happen?
Events might take such a turn that it won't be sufficient.
What can be stronger than your will?
Destiny.
Ah, so I, a poor witcher, am to face down a destiny which is stronger than the royal will. A witcher fighting destiny. What irony.
Yes, Geralt. What irony?
Never mind. Your Majesty, it seems the service you demand borders on the impossible.
Pretty okay. Good. Better than bad. Yes? If it bordered on the possible, Calanth drawled, I would manage it myself. I wouldn't need the famous Geralt of Rivia. Stop being so clever. Oh, everything can be dealt with. It's only a question of price. Bloody hell, there must be a figure on your witch's price list for work that borders on the impossible. I can guess one, and it isn't low. You ensure me my outcomes, and I give you what you ask.
What did you say?
I'll give you whatever you ask for. And I don't like being told to repeat myself. I wonder, Witcher, do you always try to dissuade your employers as strongly as you are me? Time is slipping away. Answer, yes or no?
Yes.
That's better. That's better, Geralt. Your answers are much closer to the ideal. They're becoming more like those I expect when I ask a question. So, discreetly stretch your left hand out and feel behind my throat. I don't like this.
Trailblazing fire. Yes. What's up?
The inbred. They gather up in the sewers, and they have a party down there. They invite all the trolls, all the suitors, if you will, and they eat cake. They drink lots of ale, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You seem to be a gentleman of fine taste. I like Ingrid. There's no Ingrid type of hotties, as far as I know. So Geralt slipped his hand under the yellow-blue drapery. Almost immediately, he felt a sword secured to the leather upholstered black backrest. A sword well known to him.
Your Majesty,
He said quietly.
not to repeat what I said earlier about killing people, you do realize that a sword alone will not defeat destiny.
I do. Galanth turned her head away. A witcher is also necessary. As you see, I took care of that.
Your Majesty...
Not another word, Geralt. We've been conspiring for too long. They're looking at us, and Aist is getting angry. Talk to the castellan. Have something to eat. Drink, but not too much. I want you to have a steady hand.
News on Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Ingrid. He's Ninja Turtle. He obeyed. The Queen joined a conversation between Aist, Visigurd, and Mousesack, with Pavetta's silent and dreamy participation. Drogodar had put away his lute and was making up for his lost eating time. Haxo wasn't talkative. The voivode with the hard-to-remember name, who must have heard something about the affairs and problems of Forhorn, politely asked whether the mares were foaling well. Geralt answered yes, much better than the stallions. He wasn't sure if the joke had been well taken, but the voivode didn't ask any more questions. Mousesack's eyes constantly sought the witches, but the crumbs on the table didn't move again. No, I would never move to the north. It's way too fucking cold. Krakon Crate was becoming more and more friendly with the two brothers from Strept. The third, the youngest brother, was paralytic, having tried to match the drinking speed imposed by Drag Bondu. The Skald had emerged from it unscathed. The younger and less important lords gathered at the end of the table, tipsy, started singing a well-known song, out of tune, about a little goat with horns and a vengeful old woman with no sense of humor. A curly-haired servant and a captain of the guards wearing the golden blue of Sintra ran up to Visigurd. The marshal, frowning, listened to their report, rose, and leaned down from behind the throne to murmur something to the queen. Galanth glanced at Geralt and answered with a single word. Visigurd leaned over even further and whispered something more. The queen looked at him sharply, and, without a word, slapped her armrest with an open palm. The marshal bowed and passed the command to the captain of the guards. Geralt didn't hear it, but he did notice that Mousesack wriggled uneasily and glanced at Pavetta. The princess was sitting motionless, her head lowered. The girls were hotter, and also fewer. So, harder to find. Heavy footsteps, each accompanied by the clang of metal striking the floor, could be heard over the hum at the table. Everyone raised their heads and turned. The approaching figure was clad in armor of iron sheets and leather treated with wax. His convex, angular black and blue breastplate overlapped a segmented apron and short thigh pads. The armor-plated brassards bristled with sharp steel spikes, and the visor, with its densely grated screen extended out in the shape of a dog's muzzle, was covered with spikes like a conker casing. Clattering and grinding, the strange guest approached the table and stood motionless in front of the throne.
Noble queen, honorable gentlemen, said the newcomer, bowing stiffly, please forgive me for disrupting your ceremonious feast. I am Urkion of Erlenwald.
Greetings, Urkion of Erlenwald, said Calanth slowly. Please take your place at the table. In Cintra, we welcome every guest.
Thank you, your majesty.
Urkion of Erlenwald bowed once again and touched his chest with a fist clad in an iron gauntlet.
But I haven't come to Cintra as a guest, but on a matter of great importance and urgency. If your majesty permits, I will present my case immediately, without wasting your time.
Urkion of Erlenwald, said the queen sharply, a praiseworthy concern about our time does not justify lack of respect, and such is your speaking to us from behind an iron trellis. Remove your helmet, and we'll endure the time wasted while you do.
My face, your majesty, must remain hidden for the time being, with your permission.
An angry ripple, punctuated here and there with the odd curse, ran through the gathered crowd. Mousak, lowering his head, moved his lips silently. The Witcher felt the spell electrify the air for a second, felt it stir his medallion. Calanth was looking at Urkion, narrowing her eyes and drumming her fingers on her armrest. Granted, she said finally. I choose to believe your motive is sufficiently important. So, what brings you here, Urkion without a face? Appropriating my great accent? What?
Thank you, said the newcomer, but I am unable to suffer the accusation of lacking respect. So, I explain that it is a matter of knight's vows. I am not allowed to reveal my face before midnight strikes.
Calanth, raising her hand perfunctorily, accepted his explanation. Urkion advanced, his spiked armor clanging.
15 years ago, he announced loudly, your husband, King Rogner, lost his way while hunting in Erlenwald. Wandering around the pathless tracts, he fell from his horse into a ravine and sprained his leg. He lay at the bottom of the gully and called for help, but the only answer he got was the hiss of vipers and the howling of approaching werewolves. He would have died without the help he received.
I know what happened, the queen affirmed. If you know it, too, then I guess you are the one who helped him.
Yes. It is only because of me he returned to you in one piece, and well.
I'm grateful to you, then, Urkion of Erlenwald. That gratitude is none the lesser for the fact that Rogner, gentleman of my heart and bed, has left this world. Tell me, if the implication that your aid was not disinterested does not offend another of your knightly vows, how can I express my gratitude?
You well know my aid was not disinterested. You know, too, that I have come to collect the promised reward for saving the king's life.
Oh, yes. Calanth smiled, but green sparks lit up her eyes. So you found a man at the bottom of a ravine, defenseless, wounded, at the mercy of vipers and monsters, and only when he promised you a reward did you help? And if he didn't want to, or couldn't promise you something, you'd have left him there, and to his day, I wouldn't know where his bones lay. How noble. No doubt your actions were guided by a particularly chivalrous vow at the time. The murmur around the hall grew louder. And today you come for your reward, Urkion, continued the queen, smiling even more ominously. After 15 years, no doubt you are counting the interest accrued over the period. This isn't the dwarf's bank, Urkion. You say Rogner promised you a reward. Ah, well, it will be difficult to get him to pay you. It would be simpler to send you to him, into the other world, to reach an agreement over who owes what. I loved my husband too dearly, Urkian, to forget that I could have lost him then, 15 years ago, if he hadn't chosen to bargain with you. The thought of it arouses rather ill feeling towards you. Masked newcomer, do you know that here in Sintra, in my castle and in my power, you are just as helpless and close to death as Rogner was then, at the bottom of the ravine? What will you propose? What prize, what reward will you offer, if I promise you will leave here alive?
The medallion on Geralt's neck twitched. The Witcher caught Miles Sack's clearly uneasy gaze. He shook his head a little and raised his eyebrows questioningly. The Druid also shook his head and, with a barely perceptible move of his curly beard, indicated Urkian. Geralt wasn't sure. "Your words, Your Majesty," called Urkian, "are calculated to frighten me, to kindle the anger of the honourable gentlemen gathered here, and the contempt of your pretty daughter, Pavetta. But above all, your words are untrue, and you know it."
What is this? Back off.
Ban. Bell.
You accuse me of lying like a dog? An ugly grimace crept across Calanth's lips.
"You know me very well, Your Majesty," the newcomer continued adamantly. "What happened then in Erlenwald? You know Rogner, once saved, vowed of his own will to give me whatever I asked for. I call upon everyone to witness my words. When the king, rescued from his misadventure, reached his retinue, he asked me what I demanded, and I answered. Hammered.
What's that, fearsome AA?
Maybe buy? No. Followers? What? Just gonna get removed. I asked him to promise me whatever he had left at home, without knowing or expecting it. The king swore it would be so, and on his return to the castle, he found you, Calanth, in labour. Yes, Your Majesty, I waited for 15 years, and the interest in my reward has grown. Today I look at the beautiful Pavetta, and see that the wait has been worth it. Gentlemen and knights, some of you have come to Sintra to ask for the princess's hand. You have come in vain. From the day of her birth, by the power of the royal oath, the beautiful Pavetta has belonged to me."
An uproar burst forth among the guests. Some shouted, someone swore, someone else thumped his fist on the table, and knocked the dishes over. Wield Hill of Strept pulled a knife out of the roast lamb and waved it about. Crack on Crate, bent over, was clearly trying to break a plank from the table trestle.
"That's unheard of," yelled Visigurd. "What proof do you have?" "Proof?" "The Queen's face," yelled Visigurd. "What?"
"No," exclaimed Urkian, extending his hand.
"Is the best proof."
2 years, good lord, what a guy. Pavetta sat motionless, not raising her head. The air was growing thick with something very strange. The witch's medallion was tearing at his chain under the tunic. He saw the queen summon a page and whisper a short command. Geralt couldn't hear it, but he was puzzled by the surprise in the boy's face and the fact that the command had to be repeated. The page ran towards the exit. "How you doing, fearsome AA? When was the last time I saw you?" July. Neat. Yo, Brandy. The uproar at the table continued as East Tersich turned to the Queen. My name's Tim too. Hey, nice, cool. What's up, Tim? I'm sometimes called Tommy Boy. I'm sometimes called Timmy.
I'm sometimes called Timothy. Sometimes called the most moist.
Loud and German. I'm loud and Swedish. How you doing?
Krantz, he said calmly. Is what he says true?
And if it is, the Queen muttered through her teeth, biting her lips and picking at the green sash on her shoulder. So what?
If what he says is true,
Aist frowned,
then the promise will have to be kept.
Is that so?
Or am I to understand, the islander asked grimly, that you treat all promises this lightly, including those which have etched themselves so deeply in my memory?
Geralt, who had never expected to see Calanth blush deeply, with tears in her eyes and trembling lips, was surprised.
There's no country, Sweden.
True.
Hooah!
Wait. Welcome, Malero.
Willkommen. Ja, mein Freund. Willkommen, Brandy. Wie geht's? Ja? Gut? Alles gut?
Aist, whispered the Queen. This is different.
Is it really?
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Nope. Oh, you son of a bitch!
Krakon Crate yelled unexpectedly, jumping up.
The lost fool who said I'd acted in vain was pinched apart by crabs at the bottom of Alanker Bay. I didn't sail here from Skellige to return empty-handed. A suitor has turned up, some son of a trollop. Someone bring me a sword and give that idiot some iron. You'll soon see who.
Maybe you should just shut up, Crack. Aist snapped scathingly, resting both fists on the table. Dragbondu, I render you responsible for his future behavior.
Hi there, Barker. Germans? Yeah.
The background was different, yes. Well, yeah. It's the same apartment from July. It's just that I've added a lot of stuff. Like that thing that doesn't work. Like that thing that was on the floor for such a long time. Like this thing. That's called something that I can't remember. Sorry for the random message history. You're fine. I woke to find it. I regret that I didn't record a voice message of my own. Like, hey, good morning. You in a basement? Well, last time you sent a message was in 2021 of this year. But the setup and background looks really chill. Thank you, Mello. I appreciate that. It's been some time. It's been a work in progress. If you check on the clips of the past,
yes, you'll find that this was pretty much blank, to the point of just a white hole. Yes.
Stayed up until 8. That's almost when I woke up. Fantastic. The first time. Gotcha. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yes. I was in the basement. I lived in a basement. I put the floor on, 420. I have considered that. This is quite the intense scene I'm reading right now, but I'll do that. We were not okay. That's great. I love being not okay.
This is heavy. It's a heavy bastard.
Fyra. What even do that? This is the first time I'm changing this. Yeah. Wait. 420. It's just going to be the same. What? It's just going to be this. That's not funny. What? Oh well, that's fine. I'll do. Oh, this is the toughest part. Oh, there we are. Fantastic. How have things been here? Well, I haven't streamed in 4 days because I've been on the espresso mode. But yeah, it's probably because I'm speaking to the wall that you couldn't hear me, Diabolic. How you doing, Baka? Well, you were fine. You were fine for the hangover. Yeah. Question mark. Tim doesn't want a girlfriend. Says who? On 6 and the other on 9. Yeah. I'll do that next time, okay? Girls are disgusting. What? I mean, if you say so, sure. Yeah. It was pretty decent. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's alright though. I feel better now, which is nice. What was I? Rainfawn. And are you going to silence me too, Tuesich? Shouted Rainfawn of Atra, standing up. Who's going to stop me from watching the insults thrown at my prince away with blood? And his son, Windhall, the only man worthy of Pavetta's hand and bed. Bring the sword. I'll show that Urkin, or whatever he's called, how we of Atra take revenge for such abuse. I wonder when anybody or anything can hold me back. Yes, regard for good manners, said East Tursich calmly. It is not proper to start a fight here, or challenge anyone without permission from the lady of the house. What is this? Is this the throne room of Sintra an inn where you can punch each other's heads and stab each other with knives at the fancy takes you? Everybody started to shout again, to curse and swear and wave their arms about. But the uproar suddenly stopped, as if cut by a knife, at the short, furious roar of an enraged bison. I should probably go sleep soon. That does sound like a good idea, Blacker. Fuck, you're going 3 hours. Yes, said Kudak, clearing his throat and rising from his chair. East has it wrong. This doesn't even look like an inn anymore. It's more like a zoo. Sir Bison should be at home here. Honourable Calanth, allow me to offer my opinion. A great many people, I see, said Calanth in a drawling voice, have an opinion on this problem and are offering it even without my permission. Strange that you aren't interested in mine. And in my opinion, this bloody castle will sooner collapse on my head than I give my Pavetta to this crank. I haven't the least intention. Rognar's oath, Urkian began, but the Queen silenced him, banging her golden goblet. Golden goblet. Why is that like a tongue twister on the table? Yeah, probably true, Diabolic. Rognar's oath means about as much to me as your last year's snow. Okay. And as for you, Urkian, I haven't decided whether to allow Croc or Rainfawn to meet you outside, or to simply hang you. You're greatly influencing my decision with your interruption. Geralt, still disturbed by the way his medallion was quivering, looked around the hall. Suddenly he saw Pavetta's eyes, emerald green like her mother's. The princess was no longer hiding them beneath her long lashes. She swept them from Mousesack to the Witcher, ignoring the others. Mousesack, bent over, was wriggling and muttering something. Kudkadak, still standing, cleared his throat meaningfully. "Speak," the queen nodded, "but be brief." "Thanks, Barker. You too, man. Hope you get some good night's rest. You deserve it. But with the way you're drinking." It's good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. "As you command, your majesty, noble clans, and you, knights. Indeed, Urquhart of Erlenwald made a strange request of King Rogner, a strange reward to demand when the king offered him his wish. But let us not pretend we've never heard of such requests, or the law of surprise, as old as humanity itself. Of the prize a man who saves another can demand, of the greeting of a seemingly impossible wish, you will give me the first thing that comes to greet you. It might be a dog, you'll say, or halberdier at the gate, even a mother-in-law impatient to holler at her son-in-law when he returns home. Or you'll give me what you find at home yet don't expect. After a long journey, honourable gentlemen, and an unexpected return, this could be a lover in the wife's bed, but sometimes it's a child marked out by destiny." "Briefly, Kudkadak?" Calanth frowned. "Law of what?" "Surprise." "As you command. Sirs, have you not heard of children marked out by destiny? Was not the legendary hero, Zatret Voruta, given to the dwarves as a child because he was the first person his father met on his return? And Mad Day, who demanded a traveller give him what he left at home without knowing it? That surprise was the famous Supri, who later liberated Mad Day from the curse which weighed him down. Remember Zivelina, who became the Queen of Metinna with the help of the gnome Rumpelstilt, and in return promised him her firstborn? Zivelina didn't keep her promise when Rumpelstilts came for his reward, and by using spells, she forced him to run away. Not long after that, both she and her child died of the plague. You do not dice with destiny, with impunity." "Don't threaten me, Kudkadak," Calanth grimaced. "Midnight is close, a time for ghosts. Can you remember any more legends from your undoubtedly difficult childhood? If not, then sit down." "I ask your grace," the Baron turned up his long whiskers, "to allow me to remain standing. I'd like to remind everybody of another legend. It's an old, forgotten legend. We've all probably heard it in our difficult childhoods. In this legend, the kings kept their promises, and we, poor vassals, are only bound to kings by the royal word. Treaties, alliances, our privileges, and fiefs all rely on it. And now, are we to doubt all this? Doubt the inviolability of the king's word? Wait until it is worth as much as yesteryear's snow? If this is how things are to be, then a difficult old age awaits us after our difficult childhoods." "Whose side are you on?" "Kudkadak," hollered Rainfawn at that. "Silence. Let him speak." "This cackler full of hot air and seltzer, Majesty." "A Baron of Tig is raw." "Silence," Calanth said suddenly, getting up. "Let him finish." "I thank you graciously," bowed Kudkadak, "but I have just finished." Silence fell, strange after the commotion his words had caused. Galanth was still standing. Geralt didn't think anyone else had noticed her hand shake as she wiped her brow. My phone died. I hope you success in your life. Good night. Thanks, Fearsome A. I appreciate that. Hearts in the chat. Many smooches. Thanks, Fearsome. That's very nice. My lords, she said finally, you deserve an explanation. Yes, this Erkien speaks the truth. Rognit did swear to give him that which he did not expect. It looks as if our lamented king was an oaf as far as a woman's affairs are concerned, and couldn't be trusted to count to 9. He confessed the truth on his deathbed, before he knew what I'd do to him if he admitted it earlier. He knew what a mother, whose child is disposed of so recklessly, is capable of. The knights and magnates remained silent. Erkien stood motionless, like a spiked iron statue. And Cúd Cadatach, continued Galanth. Well, Cúd Cadatach has reminded me that I am not a mother, but a queen. Very well then. As a queen, I shall convene a council tomorrow. Cintra is not a tyranny. The council will decide whether a dead king's oath is to decide the fate of the successor to the throne. It will decide whether Pavetta and the throne of Cintra are to be given to a stranger, or to act according to the kingdom's interest. Galanth was silent for a moment, looking askance at Geralt. And as for the noble knights who have come to Cintra in the hope of the prince's hand, it only remains for me to express my deep regret at the cruel disrespect and dishonour we've experienced here, at the ridicule poured on them. I am not to blame. Amidst the hum of voices which rumbled through the guests, the Witcher managed to pick out East Twersi's whisper. On all the courts of the sea, sighed the islander, this isn't befitting. This is open incitement to bloodshed, Galanth. You're simply setting them against each other. Be quiet, East, hissed the Queen furiously, because I'll get angry. Mousek's black eyes flashed as, with a glance, the druid indicated Rainfawn of Atra, who, with a gloomy, grimacing face, was preparing to stand. Geralt reacted immediately, standing up first and banging the chair noisily. Wait. That's some weird shit.
Maybe it will prove unnecessary to convene the council,
Geralt said in ringing tones. Everyone grew silent, watching him with astonishment. Geralt felt Pavetta's emerald eyes on him. He felt Erkien's gaze fall on him from behind the lattice of his black visor, and he felt the force surging like a flood wave and solidifying in the air. He saw how, under the influence of this force, the smoke from the torches and lamps was taking a fantastic form. He knew that Mousak saw it too. He also knew that nobody else saw it.
I said, he repeated calmly, that convening the council may not prove necessary. You understand what I have in mind, Erkien of Erlenwald?
The spiked knight took 2 grating steps forward.
I do,
he said, his words hollow beneath his helmet.
It would take a fool not to understand. I heard what the merciful and noble Lady Galanth said a moment ago. She's found an excellent way of getting rid of me. I accept your challenge. Knight unknown to me. I don't recall challenging you, said Geralt. I don't intend to duel you, Erkin of Erlenwald.
Geralt, called Calanth, twisting her lips and forgetting to call the Witcher Ravix. Don't overdo it. Don't put my patience to the test. Or mine, added Rainfawn, ominously. Crach growled, and Aist Twersi meaningfully showed him a clenched fist. Crach growled even louder.
Everyone heard, spoke Geralt. Baron Tig, tell us about the famous heroes taken from their parents on the strength of the same oath that Erkin received from King Rognar. But why should anyone want such an oath? You know the answer, Erkin of Erlenwald. It creates a powerful, indissoluble tie of destiny between the person demanding the oath and its object, the child's prize. Such a child, marked by blind fate, can be destined for extraordinary things. It can play an incredibly important role in the life of the person to whom fate has tied it. That is why, Erkin, you demand the prize you claim today. You don't want the throne of Cintra. You want the princess.
It is exactly as you say, knight unknown to me. Erkin laughed out loud. That is exactly what I claim. Give me the one who is my destiny.
That, said Geralt, will have to be proved.
You dare doubt it? After the Queen confirmed the truth of my words? After what you just said?
Yes. Because you didn't tell us everything. Rognar knew the power of the Law of Surprise and the gravity of the oath he took. And he took it because he knew law and custom have a power which protects such oath, ensuring they are only fulfilled when the force of destiny confirms them. I declare, Erkin, that you have no right to the princess as yet. You will win her only when...
When what?
When the princess herself agrees to leave with you. This is what the Law of Surprise states. It is the child's, not the parent's, consent which confirms the oath, which proves that the child was born under the shadow of destiny. That's why you returned after 15 years, Erkin, and that's the condition King Rognar stipulated in his oath.
Who are you?
I'm Geralt of Rivia.
Who are you, Geralt of Rivia, that claim to be an oracle in matters of laws and customs? He knows this law better than anyone else, Marsac said in a hoarse voice, because it applied to him once. He was taken from his home because he was what his father hadn't expected to find on his return, because he was destined for other things. And by the power of destiny, he became what he is. And what is he? A witcher. In the silence that reigned, the guardhouse bell struck, announcing midnight in a dull tone. Everyone shuddered and raised their heads. Mousesack watched Geralt with surprise. But it was Erkin who flinched most noticeably and moved uneasily. His hands, clad in their armor gauntlets, fell to his sides lifelessly, and the spiked helmet swayed unsteadily. That strange unknown force grew suddenly thicker, filling the hall like a grey mist.
Like a grey mist.
Cool.
Alrighty, tighty.
Cool. Give me a sec. Yeah. It's typically human. A child surprise. Alright, cool. I'm gonna stop there. Um, Alin. That's nice. Damn. Lost it all. Rip. Sheesh. Alright, cool guys. That was a quick stream. Time flew by. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna stop there. Lots of betting, I see. Like that. Really? Well, that's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. There are currently 25 chatters. That's kind of cool. We're gonna go ahead and raid into. I don't know how long Rabbit is going, how much longer she's going for, but gonna stop that. That is a white noise. And I hope she goes for a little longer. How do you spell her name? I haven't rated her in like 50 years, dude. Thank you guys for listening along. It's been a while since I did the whole, you know, narration thing. And, yeah, stuff. I don't know what to say. I'm really bad at saying bye. But, much love to you all. I really appreciate you. I really do. I don't say it enough. But thank you. Thank you for being fantastic, yeah? Many smooches to you. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Rabbits keep going forever. Bye. ... Good night. Goodbye. Farewell. Good riddance. Etc. Sad face. Hearts. Oh yeah. Do the thing. Raid. The mountain camel. No, frick. If you want to do that, you can do that if you want. If you don't, then that's fine too. Alright, bye.